Hello, good day everyone. This is the One Piece King talking here. Um, the one thing that I really wanted to discuss about, and it's kind of the really new hit thing at this moment, and it is the One Piece Pirate Warriors 4. Now, technically, as I understand, as I've watched and also played at least, one of the Pirate Warriors games, and if you follow my Instagram page, if you remember, I did a I did like a post talking about the review that I made for it and everything, like its goods and its bads. I labeled all the goods of the game, and I've also labeled all the bads of the game, and it was more of like a 50-50 really. Like there were 50% goods of the game, which was really good, and then there were 50% bads, which could also be like temporary, could also be um fixes to actually be made for the next game if they ever make a fourth one, which they will. um, but the things I really wanted to talk about that I'm putting my high hopes for in the Pirate Warriors 4 is, just how will the story go, the characters, and the costumes. Because those are kind of the big three main points of, the game, basically. Because like I said, I've done like little checks and everything of the Pirate Warriors 3, which, like I've noticed little errors in there and everything. Like some of the support characters could have been playable, and all that type of stuff, and even more characters that could have added in there, from the story itself instead of just labeling it with a bunch of riffraff everywhere. So with that out of the way, so with that introduction out of the way, let's get right to it. So, the first thing is the story. Now, of course, I'm not saying that the story that they did for the Pirate Warriors 3 was bad. It was actually pretty good, and it made a lot of sense on why, whenever you get to the finale of the story of the game, whenever we get to, Dressrosa, and, like, basically you just get to the end battle where you fight with Doflamingo, because he's king of Dressrosa, in case if you didn't know, he is. Um, but but they made it to where there was an alternate ending where you do get to fight him, but there's no there's no like Luffy turning into Gear Force, and he basically beats the crap out of him, and then like how the anime in the series goes. No, because Pirate Warriors 3 was made in the middle, kind of like in the middle of Dressrosa before it ever finished. Dressrosa was a pretty long arc, well, used to be, but now Whole Cake Island, or now Wano, is going to be a really big arc. You know, but basically, with what I feel like they're going to do with the story in the fourth game, is that they're actually going to add in arcs that were actually like misplaced or just never been put in there in the first place. Now, of course, what I mean by misplaced is like, they talk about it, like they talk about the arcs and everything, like whenever you go onto a certain level, like say you're playing on the giant arc map and everything. Um, like basically it would give off the dialogue of what happened in your adventure in Alabasta, that Luffy beat up Crocodile, the kingdom is saved, and all that type of stuff, you know. But like basic little things that you really just, kind of had like a little adventure of, basically. I mean, to give off a better example is whenever you head straight into the Drum Island arc, and that is whenever it also explains the story that you got into the Grand Line. Like you basically entered in the Grand Line by the Twin Capes. You also met with Baroque Works along the way, like in Whiskey Peak, and then you met more agents later on whenever it hit Little Garden, even though they didn't really make that reference of Little Garden in there when they should have. But but all those kind of events would lead up to Drum Island, where we actually do, meet up with Chopper, where he does become playable. But you see what I mean. Now, But with that kind of example and everything, just stuff that they kind of just leave out, it's like you don't leave that kind of stuff out, like some of that journey, wasn't very. I wouldn't say that the journeys of that would be very easy. Like the Straw Hats really had to go through difficult, times fighting. They weren't like gonna easily win. They got, their asses handed to them, but like once. Each time it was one time, but that was until, further on in the Grand Line saga that they got, beaten up even more because, you know, there were foes they couldn't even beat. Like, I would say Crocodile was a good example. They couldn't beat Crocodile so easily because, But putting that aside, though, like putting that example aside, I just think that they could put in story arcs that actually mattered in the series, like, the Twin Capes. The Twin Capes could have been short, but it could have also been in there as like a tiny little map, basically. And of course the boss would be Laboon, because Luffy and Laboon, it makes sense. Whiskey Pig, you're fighting a bunch of the Baroque Works, or, well, not really agents, but it's the billions and the millions, like basically the riffraff of the Baroque Works. You're fighting them, you get to meet with Mr. Five and Miss Valentine as the bosses, basically. But it would also get to switch over, like where you're playing as, well, I mean, technically the entire arc, you probably would be playing as Zoro, and your final boss would be Luffy. But at the same time, you would also be fighting Mr. Five and Miss Valentine at the same time. Like you'd fight both of them at the same time, to where it's like, it shows like an epic cutscene, like a full on 3D, instead of it being like, where it's like the little dialogue, basically. No, like flat out, where they would actually show the 3D cutscene of the actual fight happening, where Zoro and Luffy just kind of one shot both of them in the face, like, get out of the way, you know. But I'm not gonna go into detail with, like how the story arcs should go, or how they should do it. But I'm just putting that out as another example. But just putting off stuff like that and everything would really be good, because it would also give the introduction of a few characters that could have actually been playable, which, I'm guessing with Pirate Warriors 3 at the time when it was released, and they've kind of been looking at some of the cutscenes of the characters. They were kind of thinking that Vivi could have definitely been a playable character, because she does have potential. She does have her own technique. She's got all of that. It's not like Vivi is completely useless. She's not. She can actually fight. It's just, she's not. It's just Vivi would need more fighting experience than what the rest of the Straw Hats have been doing besides her, because Vivi is a princess. But that kind of stuff would change. Um, you know, but but also with the story, they don't have to always connect it to where you get straight into fighting the boss. Like we could actually have it where it would be the same arc, but except it could either be separated into two parts. For example, Punk Hazard, to where you actually get into the entrance of Punk Hazard, and you're actually on the outside, like the outskirts of the island, where you're outside, and you're kind of just like adventuring around, basically. Like you're adventuring around, you're trying to figure out who sent the distress signal. Like on one end, where Luffy's team is at, they're outside, and they meet with the Brownbeard crew later on, and they beat the crap out of them, and there you go. But then on the other side, which would be, I guess I would call it either the Sanji team or the Nami team. Either one works, because that group that stayed on the ship also got caught. But in also that time, they are inside of the laboratory, and they have their own little problems and adventure in the laboratory of Punk Hazard. You know, and it'd be like a little, kind of like a little separate story, which would be like a part one sort of thing, where it's getting to the beginning of the island, and getting to the beginning of the story of the arc. And then the second part would lead into the finale, where Luffy does finish off Caesar Clown, and basically Grizzly Magnum, and it's over. Like stuff like that, basically. But you know, but also with with stuff like that and everything, they can always space it out to where it's like, making it a longer story. They don't have to really be too detailed with it, like on how if they're on the ship or somewhere and they have to like move that ship, like said ship to um move and basically get to like one destination and stay there for a while and then move again and all that kind of stuff. Like they don't have to be detailed with that. It's just it's kind of being like a little detailed but not too much. But yeah. But also, since we're most likely getting ahead to the Whole Cake Island arc and the story, there is a possible chance, since we've already seen what the Whole Cake Island arc, like, as a whole in the anime series already ends, we can kind of already have a hinting theory that we actually might get to Wano, whether like if we get to halfway of Wano in the anime, which that's what I'm thinking is going to happen, we're actually going to we're actually going to probably either get like a made up ending where we do beat up Kaido and win, or if we actually get to a good point where we're near to the end of Wano, there might be a possibility that the game could also either give it a DLC or wait or be like, like do either one of those. Or a third option would be like, you know, a third option would be like as soon as that comes out and everything, it would be like a random update kind of thing, like a random update, and it would be like put selected right there. Like they wouldn't really wait until they actually can release the game. They would have it as an update and be like, oh look, now you actually have the ending of Wano basically, and here you go. Because we got so close to the ending of Wano that we gotta make it fair. Here's an update. Now, if you update your game, you basically get, you get the update that you get to actually see the ending of Wano, but from a game perspective, which actually is pretty awesome. Don't know if they're gonna go that route, but they probably might because, due to the fact of what Bandai is doing, like, well, as of this moment with their games of what Bandai is doing and other companies that work with Bandai as well of what they're doing with their games, some of it is kind of being a bit rushed and they don't need to do that. They kind of just need to be taking their time and be like, okay, with this section over here, we kind of need these guys to work on this. This section over here, these guys need to work on this game. And then our section over here works on the Pirate Warriors 4. Like basically make it easier instead of making it like really hard. But that's it for the story section. Now, as for the characters, like I mentioned in the beginning, like all the support characters that we've had in the third game, or I could say even in possibly the second and the first game, if we've ever got any support characters that were just, not playable in the first and the second one, you know, like basically a lot of those could be like, hey, those could have actually been potential characters to be played as too. But I don't think there were really that many in the first and the second one, considering that it was like a full on roster that you actually got to choose, all the characters that were actually shown in there, you know? But then you get to the third one where it did added support characters. However, most of those support characters already had player models that could move around and already have their own move sets, such as Kobe and Alvida, Bellamy. I can go on this list all day, but that's like kind of the big selected three I can really think of, and would actually think they have potential to be actual characters in the game. But yeah, but all the support characters, not including the pirate riffraff, or the marine riffraff that we get, like I mean like the legit actual support characters that are, shown in the story, whether if they're like a final boss, a mini boss, or something, you know, like all those type of characters, would be like, playable in the game. But if I had to go and choose like what kind of new characters would I want playable, um, I would choose a selected five. But in the next video, I would go and talk about of more of the characters that I would think would be like possibly playable in the game. But right now, I'm gonna go and check with five. Now, so so with the first one would have to be a Whole Cake Island character. It would have to be Charlotte Smoothie, and the reason why I think Smoothie, would be playable would be cut would excuse me would be because that Smoothie actually, I mean, Smoothie as a character in the series, like as a whole character in the series, I mean, she can fight. She can prove her worth to fight. I mean, after all, she's a sweet commander of the Big Mom family and the crew itself. But as of actually having Smoothie show off techniques, it doesn't sound like Smoothie has ever showed off like much of anything at all. Like Smoothie hasn't really got into like a big fight at all. Like she hasn't fought anyone on a one-on-one and actually proved to be victorious or have a loss. Like never had a one-on-one with anybody. It's more like, she does attacks, but yeah, it's like a 5 second or 5 minute fight to where it's like we get like a little clash and then that's it. Like Smoothie doesn't get serious. But I don't blame the character, it's just, you know. But I could see the potential of Smoothie basically being a character to play as, to where she's kind of like one of those characters that doesn't have named attacks. Or if Oda and Bandai, which I do include Oda because Oda's kind of the one that kind of does give off, a lot of the moves for some characters that don't have any, such as Whitebeard, because Whitebeard's special attack moves do have names, but it's just, as a character in general, like Whitebeard's character in general with his Devil Fruit never has any names particular at all. It's just Whitebeard is one character that just doesn't have any name techniques. But Smoothie, on the other hand, did have one or two, I believe. One of them was the slash that she does whenever she, drains like the life out of people and makes herself huge. And then whenever she does that, she does like a big old slash. And then, the slash is kind of like a lot of power. But I could definitely see that and everything. It's like throwing in a reference of Mortia with Mortia because Mortia with his Shadows Asgard, where he actually absorbs a lot of shadows and makes himself bigger, he kind of just does kind of the punch and everything. But then after a special attack is done, he shrinks back down to his normal size, and then there you go. But with Smoothie, I could definitely see something like that too, to where she does actually make herself bigger, and then does a huge slash, and then shrinks back down. I could definitely see that. Now moving on to the second character. The second character is also a Whole Cake Island character, and that would be Vince Milk Reiju. Now, all of them are not going to be female characters. Trust me, they're not going to all be female, and they're not all going to be Whole Cake. They're going to definitely be from different arcs and everything, but it's just little bit on this 5 character roster that I'm choosing, as I'm hoping forward to see as playable characters in the game. Some of them are Whole Cake Island characters because I think that some of them actually have the potential with it, but not all of them will be that. So just giving you a heads up. But the second character is Vince Milk Reiju, as I just said, and the reason why is because, with Vince Milk Reiju, you know, I mean, there's millions of reasons why and everything. One of them, which, obviously Oda and Bandai could see as a huge reason, and that is the fan service of a female character that is the same as Smoothie, because they could do, some kind of festive thing with Smoothie and Reiju, whether it be like bikinis, a Halloween costume, um, some kind of reference to a game, like how they did with Pirate Warriors 3 when they gave Nami, Robin, Boa Hancock, and Perona the only female characters that were ever in Pirate Warriors 3, giving them DLC costumes that relate over to the Samurai Warriors games and or not the Pirate Warriors, not the Pirate Warriors, but the Dynasty Warriors games of the female characters that, like their costumes kind of resemble, you know. And an example would be Perona with her DLC costume. She actually got the DLC costume of the character, of the character that is named Okuni in Samurai Warriors. If you've ever played Samurai Warriors, like you basically would know who that character is. But if you don't, Okuni is a character that like basically the umbrella is her weapon in Samurai Warriors. Like she uses the umbrella that she carries as a weapon as all the time, But with Perona, like with Perona, it'd be different because she never uses the umbrella as a weapon, but you can kind of see the a bit of the resemblance because Perona does carry around an umbrella with her. She does carry around an umbrella with her whenever she does, do her jogs and her moves. So there you go with that. Um, but yeah, but there you go. Now, but with Smoothie and Reiju, I could definitely see them doing something like that for them as well, like having them represent a game character from either Samurai Warriors or Dynasty Warriors, something like that, and also giving them like festive costumes, like depending on what month of the year of 2020 the game is coming out, they probably might give off exclusives for Reiju and Smoothie for fan service reasons, obviously. But besides that reason, the other reasons is because, with Pirate Warriors 4 coming into play with the Whole Cake Island arc, we will finally get the mystery solved of, Sanji's little backstory on how, Sanji basically is a Vinsmoke. He despises the name, he despises his birth family, and the only one he can really respect is his mother Sora and um and his sister Reiju, but as for his brothers and his father, he does not care for. Like he he really doesn't care on really what happens to them that much. He does care if they die because he's not that type of person to just say screw you and leave. No, he fought back for them, but he still hates them to this day. But yeah, but with the Vinsmokes going to be playing a big role in the Whole Cake Island arc in the game, you know, we will definitely most likely get most of the Germas and everything as playable characters, but most especially Reiju, because Reiju will definitely play a big role for fan service, but also as a character whole in the game. But the third reason is because Reiju actually has a huge move set because the Germas, they all represent, like they all represent like I guess something about their elements of their suits, their raid suits that they have. Not gonna spoil Sanji's because Sanji does get one, but I'm not gonna spoil what the whole thing is with that, because that'll be for later. But but as for the other Vinsmokes that we get to know of, the four, HEG is sparking red, I believe. It's it's either I think his is sparking red, and then Neji is lightning blue, and then Hyunji's is witch green, and then Reiju's is poison pink. It's like trying to like not get them all mixed up and everything, but with EGG's does with explosions, and all that type of stuff. Like he's more of the brute force kind of character, and that's also to say for Yonji as well. Yonji is more of a brute force character because his wind green gives him more brute strength than anything else. I mean, they all have it, but with Yonji's most especially, he gets the brute strength. But although he's not stronger than Sanji, but we all know how that went. But but with HEG, it's brute strength and explosions is what he carries over. He doesn't carry fire; he just carries explosions. Neji, he carries the electricity, so he's kind of a quick character, and he will definitely do a lot of electrical moves. So I can see a lot of move sets with him being so fast. And then with Yonji would be more like he would just do a lot of brute strength type of moves and everything, whether it be punches or some sort of grabs or something like that, but definitely Yoji would definitely be a character that would carry a lot of brute strength. But with Reiju, on the other hand, Reiju carries more of the flexibility, like a flexibility as a character whole, to where she'll be like all over the place basically. She'll be quick, but she'll also be a flexible character that get herself out of danger to where, she could also, well, I mean, the rest of them can fly, but Reiju most definitely, has more of the flight ability than the rest of her brothers. But but also with Reiju's poison pink ability gives her a lot of, said move sets where, she has a move called Pink Hornet. Um yeah, she has a move called Pink Hornet, and like I know there's a lot of different moves and everything because Pink Hornet just wasn't one move. There was definitely other moves and everything. She even does the one with the kick. I forgot what that move is called, but Reiju does have one where it is a kick move and it does inflict poison on the person. And I'm pretty sure they have a lot of other moves stored for Reiju, but it's just we don't know if we'll ever get the Vince Milks back in the story. We won't know, but as said and done, Reiju just, yeah. But that's kind of like a big reason why I think Reiju. Now moving on to the third character, and I would say this is going to be, yeah, this one right here is definitely going to be the last one because I'll name some other ones. The third one is going to be my boy Katakuri, and basically Katakuri would be a fan favorite for Pirate Warriors 4 because of the fact that Katakuri definitely is a character that most definitely will play a big role. Will definitely play a big role to where for the fight that's going to be that would come up in the game in Whole Cake Island in the Mirror World, where it's Luffy versus Katakuri. They have a clash. They have a fight. We might not know if Snake Man might ever be a thing in the game, but it most likely will be. Same with Tank Man. But yeah, but but a lot of stuff like that and everything, would actually happen and everything. Like Katakuri would be the most, centered character of that said arc and the most fan favorite of the game. Like of course, as the public and the adoring fans of One Piece, we do have our favorite characters, whether if they're in the game or the series or just maybe in movies as well, maybe in movies as well, but just in the Pirate Warriors 4 game, most especially, everyone is wanting, to see Katakuri just kind of bust out some mochi moves and just really go all out. Like really just go all out and everything. They might put an awakening setting for Katakuri. They might, not really sure, but if they do, that would be the most amazing thing I will ever see in my freaking life. Like Katakuri, does awaken mochi moves. Excuse me. Katakuri will do the most the awakening moves, but that'll be the most like badass thing I will ever see in my entire life if they ever gave him that. Where like the ground starts becoming mochi, and it's literally like you can actually use that as a move set for his character. Whether it be like another like a switch mode kind of thing, or it's actually in his actual move set as said character. Like that'd be really awesome. Like if they make Katakuri like a broken character in the game to where you can literally max him out to like, the max level like that, Katakuri will literally be like broken as a whole character in general. And I think that'd be really, really awesome. Really awesome. Like there's no other way to really explain the reason on why I think Katakuri should definitely be in the game because he's a fan favorite and the move sets that they could do with this character would literally be crazy. Like Katakuri awakened, Mochi attacks or, just flat out just going all out. I could definitely see that, you know. Now, the fourth character, like I mentioned as a warning, not all of them are going to be Whole Cake Island characters and everything. But the fourth character, I would want, and I know a lot of people are probably going to look at me and be like, really? Why this guy? Like, sure, this guy has been referenced in One Piece game before, but but as in like the Pirate Warrior series, that guy has never been referenced at all. And yes, you are right, but I feel like in the Pirate Warriors 4, they will reference this arc. At least they have to if they're gonna put this character in there. So, with that being said, here we go, to the character, and that is Silver Foxy. And why do I say him? Because of the fact that Silver Foxy actually is a character that has, a unique devil fruit himself. Although, some people might think that it is kind of like a weak devil fruit. In all reality, it really isn't because of the fact that you can slow stuff down by using beams. Of course, you always got to do this kind of sign here, kind of like how Barto, does the cross fingers. You know, but with Foxy though, with Foxy, whenever he does this sign for the beams, you know, it's kind of like it really does slow down the character. But also, it would be a funny little unique thing because whenever you do get slowed down by Foxy, it's not really like a petrify where you can't move. It's like your character would move like it, you know? But it would also be kind of like a combo attack sort of thing. Or maybe a special attack, Or maybe a special attack kind of move. I'm not sure, but whichever the case may be, I could definitely see them doing a thing for Foxy where he does, where his combos and his special attacks, a lot of them would be slow beam moves, but also at the same time he will deal a devastating blow, whether if it's with a boxing glove or it's, something else that he's got up his sleeve, because Foxy is a trickster. Like Foxy is a little trickster, he's a cheater, but he's a tricky character. But yeah, I could definitely see, Foxy actually having potential to actually be a playable character. Now, as far as crew, I mean, I don't know really. I feel like some of his crew, at least the main, officers that we've seen, in the manga and in the anime, might actually more or less be support characters, or unless they want to add, the female one, which is Portia, or I guess what they put in the English dub, they call it pork chop, or something like that, or just Portia. But I know they probably might add her in there as just a character for fan service reasons, which seems legit. Seems legit. Wouldn't really surprise me, but she's not on this list because, because now we get on to the fifth character that also doesn't, represent in Whole Cake Island, but it is actually a character that actually represents in, the Dressrosa arc. Now, technically, this character has actually been in a One Piece game before. Not in the mobile games. I'm talking like a legit One Piece game, where they actually, had him like basically as like an example, how whenever this like the new Smash game that was coming out for this year or either this year or last year, it was like around Christmas basically, and it was basically like how everyone was getting like the little invitations to join in Smash basically like the Nintendo Smash, you know it's kind of like that basically for Barto, except for One Piece, like it'd be like a little letter of One Piece Pirate Warriors 4, like the Pirate Warriors logo would be on it, and it would be like for the envelope, and it would give to Bartolomeo, it'd be for Barto, and like it'd really be funny because I'm pretty sure his reaction would be like, "Oh my god, guys, I got like legit. I just got like invited to the game. I'm not just in Burning Blood anymore. Yes, and also." Yes, if you didn't know, or if you didn't know or haven't even played One Piece Burning Blood, they actually did have Bartolomeo in that game. They actually had Bartolomeo in that game. So there you go for that, really. That's like, well, I mean, it was him, Doflamingo, and Fujitora as Dressrosa related characters. I mean, I could say Sabo and Koala as well, because they do show up as well. But I don't know. It's like very, very confusing with that because, we kind of do get a little bit of a different history with Sabo and everything, and how he does show up in like he does make appearances in different spots of the series. Koala almost the same, but yeah, their main center was Dressrosa, where they were supposed to make their first appearance, in which they did. But with Barto, though, Barto is kind of the same way, where he actually made his first appearance in Dressrosa, but we get a backstory of him where he used to be in the East Blue, and know all that kind of stuff. But anyway, though, but yeah, Barto, was only in Burning Blood, and don't get me wrong, they really did him good because he's supposed to be the character that does play dirty and also, kind of does the little barrier tricks, kind of just show off his powers. Although they didn't give him his full potential to the point where he could have actually not just created a barrier that would only protect him from the front, but they should have made it to where his character could have been like almost like a special attack or a special defense kind of thing, where he actually makes like a dome barrier to where he can't even get hurt at all, you know, like the person that would punch the said barrier would get hurt a lot, but Barto would not feel a thing. But anyway, though, but yeah, I would think Barto would definitely have potential and everything, even though we didn't really get much moves for Barto. I mean, we did in the series, but as of like a full potential kind of thing, we haven't really seen anything like that from Barto that much actually, to where Barto could go all out like Katakuri. Like Barto is a bit different because of the fact that like he keeps crossing his fingers. That's an obvious thing that he always does for his barrier. For his barrier moves. I think that's almost like a little thing that you have to do all the time. Kind of like how Foxy has to do this with his slow beam little technique. I'm not having anything against that. That's kind of like the little funny logic of One Piece. Um, but but with Barto, I could see one of his special attacks basically being him doing the, barrier pistol move. That he uses, to kind of copy Luffy to mimic his move, but not to be rude about it, but be like, I can be strong too, and I will use the most amazing move that my amazing Luffy senpai has taught me, the Gum Gum pistol, but I'm gonna call it the barrier pistol instead, and then yeah, you know, um, but but with other techniques though, I could definitely see him doing other techniques such as the barrier bulls that he does, where he actually does, the run while he has the barriers up. I could definitely see that as being a combo attack. Um, I could definitely see him, I could definitely see him doing like a kind of like the barrier little cylinder cone move kind of thing, as like a counter to where, if he does the barrier and somebody hits it and everything, he can kind of like, kind of launch it basically, like launch, the barrier dome in all directions if anyone hits it, and that would actually be like a really powerful counter, so but that'd be pretty cool. That'd be pretty cool. You know, I mean, I'm not really gonna go all that much with trying to think of Barto's moveset. That probably might be for like next future videos. But, but just thinking like all the potential moves that Barto can use with his barrier and everything, and also his little dirty tricks that he does, Barto could really like be an actual character that could also make good potential, you know. Now, lastly, moving on to the final thing, which is the costumes for the characters. Now, I know that I did watch Edo Saiyan's video about this, um, even though that I literally had this kind of thought and everything, like, whenever I was doing my review for Pirate Warriors 3 on my Instagram page, labeling the bads was also the costumes because of the fact that whenever I looked at all three Pirate Warriors games, the costumes of the characters did not exactly fit right with all of them exactly. Like with each arc that they go through, it did not fit with them exactly. Now, I know people will correct me and say like Pirate Warriors 2 was technically a filler, like it was like a little filler adventure game basically, to where they didn't have any story plot. Well, I mean, they did have a story plot, but it wasn't like a canon story plot, like at all. Because one, Ace was alive. Like Ace was still alive whenever Luffy and his crew did the time skip. Like they went through the time skip training. Luffy has hockey and all that type of stuff. But Ace wasn't supposed to be alive, and neither was Whitebeard. Neither one of them were supposed to be alive. You know, although they did have some scenes that would also reference to what they would have put in the third game, which was basically whenever Blackbeard steals Whitebeard's tremor fruit and actually gets stronger with using it, and also with, Mortia kind of trapping Luffy in the black box and trying to give him his quote unquote baptism for the new world, you know. But obviously Luffy beats, Mortia from the Shadows Asgard and all that type of stuff, so there you go. But you know, but basically with all that said, basically, it's just with the costumes though, Zoro's and Nami's, like I'll get to the other Straw Hats and everything, but Zoro's and Nami's most especially have bothered me the most because of the fact that Zoro's has always stayed the Enies Lobby outfit until he hits the time skip, to where he's always wearing, the New World outfit throughout every arc, in the game. And, that's not supposed to happen because even if they went through Fishman Island and all that kind of stuff, Punk Hazard and Dressrosa, they definitely went through some costume changes, in there. Like they definitely went through costume changes, and they weren't exactly the same. Like they weren't wearing the same outfits each and every arc. They changed out and everything. I mean, I'm proud that they did that for Luffy, the main star, of the Straw Hats and everything. Like Luffy, the main star, the captain of the crew, and all that type of stuff. Like I'm glad that they did that for him, even though they didn't do it fully, but they did, for majority of the pre-time skip arcs in the series, they did give him, like a lot of, the outfits he was required to have, you know. But for Zoro, it has always stayed that he's worn the 32, or not 32 line. They should definitely add that, as a costume for him and everything, because who knows? They might do like a little fun little thing where it's like, you get to do the episode of Zoro, where you're going through his 32 eye training, and then who knows? We actually might get to see something, that they can incorporate in the game that could also, give us a hint of what happened in the series, because I mean they tend to do that with the anime. They give us scenes that we've never seen in the manga before, like, things that we've never seen in the manga before, but we get to see in the anime, like how it's further expanded upon. But with Zoro's eye, like how it's cut, we might get something where it's like, oh, we got to show you a little secret and everything, to where, like how Zoro got his eye cut, basically. We get to show you how this happened. And with Sanji, how he was able to, master his, technique, the Diable Jambe, with his flaming legs, and make his body even, control the fire. He gets to basically, like, do all that and everything. We already know how he already has the skywalk, because in the anime, in his flashback for his training, we already figured out on how he even got his skywalk technique, because he's been running forever until he started running on air, and he didn't even realize it. Um, but yeah, but with his special technique, we could have an episode of 32Y for Sanji, to where we can actually, start seeing how he actually mastered the technique so well, and for Chopper, Nami, Robin, and the rest of them on how, they got to be, you know. I mean, with Brooke, it's very different though, because, I mean, we kind of did get to see on how he did get to learn his techniques, but how he got to expand it is very different. We never knew how he did get to expand that, you know. But, you know, but like going back to the costumes because that's a really cool idea. I just listed out there like an episode of 32i for all the Straw Hats. But going back to, the costumes, Nami's was also a really bad, like a really bad one as well because Nami Nami never really wore pink that much actually. Like not really. Maybe maybe like that one outfit that she wore during Whiskey Peak, she did. Um and even like in some filler arcs where she does wear like a bikini or like something that would be like in her color of either pink or something that she likes, whether it be pink or orange, because I think orange is mainly Nami's color because get it, tangerines. Anyway, but yeah, but with Nami though, it's like really, they kept her in an outfit that almost resembles of what she wears, in the Orangetown Island arc, where we first made her. But, as of like what they did with her as a whole, as her player model, that doesn't actually look right, because I get it. They actually wanted to make Nami more of a fan service character because it's a female character. No judgment really, but that's how a lot of games are doing it now. They actually make a lot of fan service of the female characters, Can't really judge that, But at least if you're doing it for like a story reason, actually make it to where the characters actually match their stuff. Because especially with Nami, for the love of God, for Nami, the only I also noticed this with Usopp, Zoro, and Nami. I've noticed this to like an extent where with Zoro, he still wears the Enies Lobby outfit, but the thing is with him is that by costume changes, he still has the same outfit on and everything. It's just the only difference is that he's got like the stitched scar on his chest because of Mihawk, and then you cut over to where he gets different swords like the Katetsu sword in Yubashiri from Longtown, which is a costume in there, and then later on that would get replaced with Shusui. They say Sabaody, but they should have named it Thriller Bark because that's where he got the sword. And I actually started testing it out in that set arc, so technically, it was Thriller Bark. Please. You know. But but then you also get, over to, with Nami, it's like the same thing really, with her climb attack and everything. The first that we get is literally like the climb attack where it's in the very first, form, the very first shape. It's just the first thing that Usopp ever made when it was like the Alabasta saga, like fair little point and said, but but it's just like she's still in that same outfit, but like just with the climb attack basically, but then you move on to different arcs where it gets perfected, excuse me, to where it gets perfected. The example would be after Skypiea, where yeah, it'd be after Skypiea, where basically Nami does have the perfect climb attack, where it actually has like the balls on it basically because they're supposed to be the dials that Usopp incorporated into Nami's perfect climb attack, and then of course there's the sorcery climb attack, which was actually made by the weather wizards on Witheria. It was actually perfected on there, you know, and basically made it to a sorcery climb attack. But I'm not saying that I have anything with against that and everything. It's just I have everything against with Nami's whole climb attack thing and everything because the perfect climb attack actually had where it was two costumes that actually, just made Nami have that. The first was being that she was actually wearing a winter coat, where it was wearing the jacket that Luffy wore, when he was fighting with Wapple on Drum Island, even though part of the sleeve had to get torn off because he had to go and tie the flag, where he had to go and tie the flag back down, on on the castle's pole where it fell. But but it's that jacket, and it's also her with black pants, and it's just I don't understand why with that and everything because I don't think we really see Nami wear that kind of jacket at all in the series. So why are you giving her that one when you could give it to Luffy because Luffy's the one that technically wore that, you know? Um, but but then the other one is basically they call it Water 7 and it's basically the same outfit that she wears, not the winter one, but the same outfit that they gave her throughout like millions of the arcs until the new world, and then it's just her with the perfect climate tag. That's it. And I thought that was really ridiculous because they didn't need to do that for her at all. Like they could have done better. Now with Usopp, same kind of deal because basically he's been wearing the same outfit until the new world, and he only has literally like two pre-time skip costumes and one new world costume. That's it. And what it is basically is that there's the normal one, like the default where we first meet Usopp and everything, where he's got the tiny little slingshot, and he fights Kuro and a lot of his enemies with it. But then, whenever it comes to, I'm guessing it had to be Skypia. Yeah, most likely Skypia because that's where he got his dials. Um, but it's a costume that is labeled as any lobby, and it's basically the one where he actually does become Soga King. Soga King or Sniper King, as the English translation of it is. But it's just I think it would be really funny if it wasn't a Kazuna kind of like activation to where he's got to wear on the to where he's actually got to wear on the mask, you know, because he really doesn't. Like he really doesn't need to go like full power with that because that power can deplete and then he's like then the mask will come off basically. Like they could make it to where it's like a taunt basically where he could put on the mask and be all like, I am Soga King, I'm the best man ever, you can't beat me. And it's like, okay, you know? Like that would be the perfect style basically. But guess they didn't want to go down with that route. But basically, it's his Kabuto is what he calls it, but it's like, his slingshot is basically extended where it's actually got a pole this time, you know. To where he calls it his Kabuto basically is extended, in which he could do different other attacks with it. Like the attacks are actually like very expanded to where they're very different, you know. But still, though, I mean, it's just Usopp should have definitely had different costumes for each and every arc and everything, especially with like it should like instead of it being blue, like kind of like this blue strap that he wears or whatever, like it's like blue overalls or something that he wears. It should have been brown, and him wearing a yellow shirt with it should have never even came with it because Usopp, as we all know in the series, never worn, like a shirt, with his little straps. Basically, he's always been like, just wearing the straps. That's it, you know, and and basically like that's just basically it and everything. I mean, even with Robin and Frankie, I mean, Frankie didn't really get too many costume changes throughout his pre-time skip. He didn't get that many, but it would still be nice to give him the few that he had before the new world ever striked in, to where you can give him more because it's expanded upon more where he gets more. Robin, however, does get more. Robin does get more throughout the series. And the one thing that really screwed with me the most is yeah, the one thing that screwed with me the most was Robin's Miss All Sunday outfit because like under the coat and the hat that she wears, it is literally just Robin wearing the Enies Lobby outfit that she wore whenever the Straw Hats had to go save her. You know, like she's wearing that under the big coat with the hat. And I'm just thinking like, no. She should have been wearing like, you know, this little strap top that she wears. It's like a strap top basically, or not really a top, but it's got like little straps for the chest basically, or like, you know, like little it's well, I mean, I'm not really sure how to really describe it, but if you have seen One Piece and if you know what Robin's alias of Miss All Sunday looks like through the Alabasta arc, you know exactly what I'm talking about. She wore shorts, like little shorts, and she also wore, you know, something, you know, for the top basically. You know, also with the coat and the hat. You know, not this long dress that she wears throughout like Water 7 and Enies Lobby. Like none of that really should have occurred at all, you know. And even what was messed up was also whenever it hit you know, Thriller Bark, because she still wore that said, you know, outfit throughout Thriller Bark and Saba Odi when she wasn't supposed to. She was supposed to be wearing the, you know, the natural outfits that she gets throughout the arcs, you know. Like the purple dress. I mean, it's sort of like a dress, but it's like this. Well, actually, it is a dress, sort of, but it's like this. You know, it's this purple dress with her wearing like stockings, basically. Like, yeah, she wears stockings with those. You know, but like there you go, basically. Like Robin is supposed to be wearing that for Thriller Bark, and then whenever it hits Saba Odi, she wears a hat. She wears a hat. She wears like this. It's like this brown purplish shirt that she wears, you know, with I think almost the same color pants, really, you know. But she also does wear pants and everything. She also does, you know, but basically like just give her like the right outfits for, you know, the costume of the arcs basically, you know. Now as for Brooke doesn't really get any, you know, Brooke doesn't really get any unless the only thing you want to give him for 32 White is that instead of him using the, you know, the violin that he has and everything, like you actually give him a guitar, you know, like that actually be like pretty cool and be like, yep, playing a guitar for 32Y. Can't wait to see you, you know. But, you know, but there you go from there and everything. Just basically make it to where all the Straw Hats actually just match what they're supposed to look like. And I mean every single one. Not, you know, not just Luffy, not just Zoro, not just Nami, not just Usopp or Robin, not just any of those guys. I mean every single one. If any one of them went through a costume change throughout like any arc in the series at all, whether it be like, you know, the anime or just in the manga, and they went through many costume arc changes, you give them those said, you know, arc costumes. You don't just give them, you know, the same said outfit, because that's being lazy. Do not do that. All right. Now, you know, I mean, I wish I could talk more basically, but I don't want to make this video too long. But, you know, in my part two, I will discuss more. You know, like I will discuss more with, you know, the characters really, like, you know, what type of other characters would I also want in Pirate Warriors 4, and, you know, and we'll see where we go from there. So this is the One Piece King here. You know, give a like, give a comment down below. I would love to read your thoughts, and, you know, like what are your thoughts about Pirate Warriors 4, and what do you think, you know, what do you think is going to be added into the game as like a function, you know, or characters, or maybe costume designs for certain characters, whether it be for the Straw Hats or non-Straw Hat characters, or just anybody in the game, you know. And, you know, just, you know, also subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, and I will see you all next time.